Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is giving them personalized feedback and advice about things I think that they can do differently in their builds to ultimately help them build and submit stronger lineups into their contests and improve their post-contest sim ROIs. So we do this show Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. If you ever want to get signed up for a show, all you need to do is send us your fantasy site username, what sport and slate and site you want reviewed, and I'll add you to the list for the next show. You could either post it in the office hours channel, or you can send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Either one of those options will work. But with that said, we have 3 people signed up for the show today. We're going to start with Adam, who requested some NFL Showdown review, I'm assuming ahead of the Super Bowl here. So let's get SaberSim up, and we're going to be reviewing the Washington-Philadelphia Showdown from 2 Sundays ago now, with the Pro Bowl being this last weekend. So why don't we start in the contest tab, as always. All right. So one thing a little interesting here, in case you guys didn't know this, because I think this might be the case leading up to the Super Bowl too, possibly. You notice how this field lineup says SaberSim ownership. Okay, what happens is that if you upload an entry file before we have Sims run, you get like our default ownership. Okay, to get the contest specific ownership, either one, come in here and okay, what I think you need to do is you got to re-upload your entry file. Okay, so what I would do is if you just so happened to upload an entry file before our Sims were run, go to this up arrow, re-import your entry file, and then it should update the sets of field lineup. So just small note there, something that can happen depending on timing. But aside from that, contest selection looks really good. All low stakes, single entries, 3 max, nice balance here. Less than the max and the 50-cent mini max. So being bankroll conscious, this all seems great, right? So why don't we go review the mini max lineups, since there's the most of those with 62. And let's go over to users. All right, little scrap. 62 entries, so we're going to go greater than or equal to 62. Sort by sim ROI. So we see negative 1% sim ROI here. So about neutral. Let's go in and look at some of the metrics here. 49 for salary seems pretty in line. 8 average dupes, not bad at all. 86 sim average score. Okay, so normally what I recommend is comparing your metrics, choosing one, and then trying to find somebody with a higher sim ROI with a similar number, right? So like what I would do in this case is I would say, okay, I have 8 average dupes. Does anybody on this list have 8 average dupes? And I come down here and I say, oh, hey, look, there's a couple players, 13% sim ROI, 12% sim ROI with 7 average dupes, 8 average dupes. Okay, cool. I'm going to look at these 2 players. Now, what do I see with these 2 that's different from my set? Well, my sim average score is 86.08, and the other player with 8 has an 89.39. And then the other player with 7 has an 88.68 here, right? So notice like their sim ROIs are the same. And then 8 average dupes, 89.3, 7 average dupes, 88.6. Basically, you can go lower in sim average score as long as your dupes is going lower as well. So it's not to say, hey, 8 dupes is too many, or hey, 86 sim average score is too low. You could probably have an 86 sim average score, but your dupes is going to have to be close to like 0 or 1 or 2. Or you can have 8 average dupes and have a higher sim average score. So what I would recommend here is trying to focus on ways to increase your sim average score so you're like 3 points higher where these other sets are. And I'm like positive that'll take you from negative sim ROI to positive sim ROI in this instance. So why don't we go to build 1 where all these lineups came from? Looks like these lineups were built 17 minutes to lock, accounting for all See 41K min, so lowered min salary a bit. Looks fine. Max salary 50K. No filters, no rules. No min or max exposures in the captain. No min or max exposures in the flex. Actually, one small one to John Bates, which I think is fine. Risk management decision, probably. Nothing in team stacks. Nothing in stack exposure. So pretty hands off here, right? One single adjustment in the player table. Cover lineups. Looks like they use autofill, unique rank, target ROI, sorting by prize pool. This looks good. One unique, 3 filters. So we see ROI. We see a geomean here. And what's this other one? And then we see a salary less than 49.9. So they basically built all the lineups and then said, hey, I'm going to drop salary a bit here. So this seems fine. I wonder what impact these all have. So let's turn these off. All right. So salary trashes 500 lineups. That's cool. Like 10%. Geomean trashes like 1,700 lineups. A little aggressive. And then ROI trashes a lot, which we expect. 3K lineups here. So in case you guys didn't know this, there's typically a correlation between like lineups. Okay, well, I'll say it this way. Lineups with a low geomean typically are projected a little bit less. Okay. So when you crank up the geomean, trashing like 30 to 40% of your lineups, well, the average projection in your lineups is probably going to go down. Okay. And we could probably see this with an average projection aggregate metric. Just add one. Average projection. So our average projection with no filters on is 90.4. When I turn on this geomean one, it drops to 85.9. Okay. So, or 86.1. This is a big drop, right? This is a 4-point drop. This is the average projection that you ended up at, right? I would probably recommend lowering or raising the geomean, so lowering the impact of the filter a little bit to where it's like closer to like 10% of your lineups, maybe like 23. That's closer to 20%. Projections up like a point. What does 24 do? 24 is a lot better. 700 lineups in the trash. That's, 10 to 15% in that range. And projections up to 87.2, right? So like having this average projection allows you to see the impact that these adjustments make. And maybe I go, 24.5. That's like really close to 10%. And now my projection is like 87.3, right? So we've brought up the projection by like 1.2 points simply by not being so aggressive with the geomean. Another thing that you could do is you could try and like counterbalance the geomean with a projection filter. So like, okay, we're going to use geomean. We're going to get to a lower average projection. But what if I have another filter and I say, show me lineups with projection greater than, I don't know, say 85, right? And let's just turn off the geomean one. Okay, so 85 trashes a lot. So let's go lower, maybe like 82. Still kind of a lot. 80. Okay, I think 79 is going to be the right number. All right, so 79 is like 20%, right? We're being a little aggressive here, but that's okay. So let's go back. So let's turn on the geomean one. That's like 10%. That gets us to 87.3. But then what if we try and counterbalance it with the projection? Okay, so it ends up not having an impact. So then I would be okay, like, if you want to turn that back off, but at least you checked, right? You're like, hey, I'm being conscious that using a high geomean can lead to playing lower projected lineups, and I'm prepared to do something about it in the event that happens, right? So like, maybe you want to be more aggressive with the geomean now, right? Okay, maybe I go back to 23.5. which is like closer to 10% or, 22. And then, you turn on the projection filter and see if that has an impact. And then if it ends up having an impact, good. You're finding a happy middle ground. You leave both on. If you have one on and the other one's not having a big impact, then you leave it off, right? But it's about being aware. It's about checking, it's about adding that step to make sure you're not playing too low projected lineups. So what I would, coming back here, I would probably lower the impact of the geomean filter. I think 30+% is too much. Or if you're going to do that, I would add in a projection filter to try and offset it a little bit. But I would probably go with the lowering impact first and then see how that goes. So some combination of that is probably going to help you here. I don't think you're very far off. And I think that it is like that sole adjustment and tweaking that a little bit is actually going to help a ton here. So consider those changes, and I think that you're going to be all set for the Super Bowl. So good luck. All right, good stuff there. Next one up. This is kind of a fun one. So this is, I believe, this Jersey guy, and it appears to me he is an Eagles fan. So good luck this weekend. All right, but we're going to be jumping over to some NBA action. And we're going to be looking at NBA from yesterday and the NBA main slate. All right, so let's get this up. Jump over the contest tab. All right, good stuff. Jamming low stakes here is what you like to see. I don't know if this is like a look back thing or what, but either one, the SaberSim ownerships are showing up and they're not supposed to, and it could be like related to like me, or we have another person, surprisingly, kind of random, who entered who uploaded their entry file early. Okay, so just be aware of that. I know our NBA projections go up a little bit later now. They go up around like 11 a.m. Eastern. So just be aware of, not getting the specific field lineups if you upload too soon, right? You might just have to go in and re-upload. And looks like Jerry's our guy here. Jerry said, yeah, go Birds. Good luck this weekend. Looks like Jerry actually had a pretty good day, right? You come in here, you see winnings, pretty solid day. This is, top prize is 1K. This is either first and a chop or second place and some other strong finishes here. So nice stuff there. We're going to review the 150 set though, just because it's more lineups. We want to have like a bigger sample size in general here. So more lineups, the better, to just get a sense of how the lineups are grading out. All right, jump over to users. We're going to look at people who max this out, sort by sim ROI. So this is great, right? 31.8% sim ROI here is exactly what we like to see. And what else do we see here? So top sim ROIs are like somewhere in like the 35% plus range. And being at like pushing 32% is honestly perfectly fine, right? There's not really a ton else you need to change here. Looking at some of the metrics, using a lot of salary, one average dupe, which is like on the low end here of the other users, which is good, right? We want to be a little early here. I mean, I was reading a comment and talking at the same time, but we want to be on the low end of the average dupes, right? That'll keep our sim 99% profit high. Bunch of uniques and 284.1 sim average score. So we do see some higher sim average scores, but again, this goes in line with like, hey, lower dupes, more uniques. His sim average score can be a little bit lower. So this is all good. Now let's read this one real quick. Jerry said, I did upload early. Didn't know that was a bad thing. The only thing is like, if we don't have the ownership projections up yet, that means we don't have the ownership buckets, and your SaberSim, your field lineups are going to get set to like a default as opposed to the contest specific options. So just be aware of that going forward. All right. Getting back to the results. So the results look good. I don't think we're going to learn a ton here. Let's go into the build, see what we see. So first good thing, right? Swapping their lineups. Very, very important to swap. Looks like probably did multiple swaps, with the last swap being before the last game of the night. So really good stuff there. Let's go into the pre-slate build. Looks like lineups were built 8 minutes to lock. That's great. You know, they have a nice lean process. They can wait for those lineups to be released and get something done quickly. So we always like to see that. What else do we see? Okay, so couple adjustments here, right? Like a minimum exposure to Giannis. It seems like that was like their only minimum exposure. So, hey, you know, they felt strongly about one spot on the slate. They applied a min exposure. That's great, right? Looks like he did okay, you know, pretty close to projection here. So totally fine. Default min-max salary, no filters, no rules. Just click through some of these. No adjustments in any other positions. Nothing in team stacks. Nothing in stack exposures. So all in all, you know, maybe they unchecked some stacks here. So it looks like they might have been a little bit particular with their stack exposures, which is totally cool, right? So curating stacks here, making one minimum exposure change, and trusting the sims for the rest, right? So really like that. No filters, target ROI, using autofill, using different uniques, right? We talked about this. This is great. You know, they're like, hey, you know, I went through my process. I determined 3 uniques is good for 150, and then they're going to scale that, right? They're like, okay, but if I'm playing 20 lineups, you know, I need a lot less. I could probably go 1 unique higher, which is something I've talked about here. You know, you could be more specific and check it, but this generally works out fine. Sorting by prize pool, using unique rank, target ROI. All of this is great, right? And you know, this is, I didn't come in here expecting to see anything bad, right? They graded out super well in the post-contest sims, and I think this is good. Now, maybe one thing I would do differently, right? You always got to be a little bit careful using unique rank and high uniques, because, you know, the 150 lineups come first, right? And then the 3 uniques get applied. And then the 20 lineups come second with the 4 uniques applied. You know, depending on how many entries you play, the builder could end up going so far down in the pool that it ends up playing negative ROI lineups because it has to play unique lineups, because the number of min uniques is a certain threshold. So what I would probably recommend is just go into your filters and then just set one up that says show lineups with target ROI greater than 0. This will make sure that as the builder, just like that, as the builder is going through here, you know, unchecking contest, sorting lineups, filling them, that it is filtering out the contests specific ROI, the contest specifics lineups that are less than 0% ROI. So that's more of like a safeguard, like a safety net, just to make sure you're not getting any negative ROI lineups. It could happen, you know, so it's just something good to guard against. So if I were to make any suggestion here, I would probably just create a filter, ROI greater than 0, turn it on and then save, and then you'll be all set. But other than that, really like what I'm seeing. Glad you had a good day here. I'm actually curious what position they came in. Came in 3rd in this contest. So super close to the top here, but that's still awesome, obviously. So nice, strong 3rd place finish. Good job. And other than that, I think you're all set. All right. We got one more coming up here, and actually it's going to be for the same slate. So that's always cool. Get to compare a couple users across the same slate, maybe even across the same contest. So we got Interrogator coming up for Sunday's NBA main slate. All right, let's get Saberson back. And we're going to jump to the contest tab. Okay. Here, same advice as before. If you upload early, make sure you re-upload. See a swap build. That's great. Looks like they swapped before the last game, so probably did a couple other subsequent swaps, which is we like to see. Let's go to the mini max. Same contest, right? So we saw that Jerry had like a 32% sim ROI in that contest. Let's go see how Interrogator graded out. All right, so we're going to set this greater than or equal to 24. Sort by sim ROI. Okay, so interesting, right? So this is kind of cool. So when we set it to greater than or equal to 24, Interrogator is actually the top sim ROI here, right? Last time it started, I believe at like Marcus, that 54% rings a bell here. So Interrogator entering super strong lineups, really good actual ROI here, right? 266%, which is great. And they had, here they're a little bit on the higher side of the average dupes, but their sim average score is, 5 points higher than Jerry's was, and it offsets, right? So it's like, you could be on higher sim average score with higher dupes, or you could be lower sim average score with lower sim average score with lower dupes. Either one of those options can grade out with high sim ROI here. So good lineups. Happy with what we're seeing here. Let's go to the build where these lineups came from. All right. So bumped minimum salary 1,000. I think that's totally fine. Other than that, no filters, no rules. No exposure adjustments that I see here. Nothing in the positional tabs. Allowing all stacks. Nothing in games. Nothing in teams. So really hands off on the projection table. Let's go to the lineups. All right, so what did we see? So 3 uniques, target ROI, unique rank, projection filter, ROI greater than 0 filter, geo mean filter. All of these are viable, right? We saw like, hey, they're using a geo mean filter and their lineups are still duped 4 times, So, they could, I actually wouldn't recommend this since they're like the highest sim ROI based on these number of entries, but you could consider, being more aggressive with the geo mean if you wanted to. But they're offsetting geo mean and projection, ROI greater than 0, playing a unique lineup in every entry, using uniques. This is all great, right? And this is what we expect to see from, the top sim ROI in this set. And then, they have a bunch of aggregate metrics that they're using, projection, ROI, geo mean. So all in all, really, really good set of lineups. They had another good day, right? 266% ROI. So this is everything we like to see here. So Interrogator doing a great job as well. Keep it up, and you guys are going to continue to do just fine. But not a lot of other notes here, which is a good thing, right? We don't want to change too much. All right. Those are our 3 people who signed up for the show today. Reminder, if anybody ever wants to sign up, send us an email, support@sabersim.com, or post on the Office Hours channel. Let me know what sports slate and site you want me to review, and I'll add you to the list for the next show. This is going to be the only show this week. We will not be having the Friday show. I'll be out of town, but we will be right back at it next week. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern for Office Hours. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.